Hello, good morning. Hear me now? Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you very much, Ashk Amin, for that positive feedback. I really appreciate. I hope you can hear me now. From my monitoring device here, it says that all sounds are good right now. Please kindly confirm that you can do so along the line. So, as I have to recap all what I've said earlier. So, you're welcome to my morning live session. My name is Sharif Daramola, and for the next 30 to 40 minutes, I will be taking you through the chart where we shall be reviewing all the pairs that we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week. And so, what we simply do here is to review and analyze all the pairs that we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week. Using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities, and then we share ideas on how to manage our existing trade ahead of the London and New York session. Thank you very much, Hamin. And since this is going to be the last trading day of the week, it's a Friday, and there is a peculiarity about Fridays, which happens to be the last day of the week, and it's more of the on the psychological aspect, and in the sense that majority in the market will be doing profit-taking activities today, which would most of the time reflect on the chart as price action moving in the opposite direction of where price has been coming throughout the week. So for instance, if you have a bullish trend and at the beginning of the week, that is those who took advantage of a bullish move at a very cheap price, on Fridays like this, most of them would want to be doing selling off to take some profits ahead into the weekend, and this will always reflect on the chart as a retracement or price action moving in the opposite direction. So all this we are going to be taking into consideration while we monitor and review the chart from a technical standpoint. So once again, I welcome you all, and let's dive into the business for today. So the first thing we are going to be doing obviously is to keep tabs with the fundamentals, and in that regard I was able to spool out some couple of macroeconomic events that we are going to be looking forward to today. And we have the retail sales, which is coming up in about 4 hours from now, and the previous data is coming in at minus 0.4%, and we have a consensus projection of minus 0.4% as well. So there is a high chance that probably the actual data will come in just as expected. But if it does comes in contrary with what we have here, obviously we are going to be looking at the chart to decipher ahead of this event so that we can be part of any potential move that will happen during the event and after the event. Then we also have the publication from the University of Michigan, that is the Consumer Sentiment Index, and this is a survey of personal consumer confidence in the US economy. So it normally gives us a picture of whether or not consumers are willing to spend money. So this is a very high economical indicator, which everyone in the market will also be looking forward to give us a clue into how key players will be positioning themselves ahead of the new week. And the previous data here comes in at about 62, and then we have a consensus projection of 62 as well. So we are going to be looking forward to see how the market will be anticipating this. Obviously we shall be seeing this reflect on the chart as price action. So with that being said, here we shall be diving right into the chart so that we can identify potential trading opportunities lining up for us today. So the first commodity we always treat here is the US oil commodity, And here we are on the US oil chart, 1 hour time frame. And if you look at the structure here, and if you have been following me on my TradingView platform and my Telegram platform, the newly created Telegram platform, you would have been seeing how we have been taking advantage of these trading opportunities. And in fact, on the US oil so far this week, we have been quite profitable. So how did the week started for us here on the US oil? So this was the beginning of the week. So we saw the situation here. So what I simply do here is ensure that we know where we are coming from so that we can also anticipate where price action might likely be going. So it gives us a background knowledge of how we have been doing so far this week. So at the beginning of the week, we saw how price action started at around the $81 level, which happened to be the resistant line for the week. This was where price action started the week. I hope you can see my screen clearly. And then we had the support line for the week at the $80.45 area. And we can see that price action was initially trapped within a range just right within the $81 mark and the $80.45 level to give us a little sense of indecisiveness around that area during the first 8 to 10 hours of the new week. And you all know what we look out for whenever we have this kind of simple setup like a flat channel. We want to remain patient, waiting for price action to either break out of the resistance line for buying opportunity or break down of the support line for selling opportunities. So with our orders placed at both ends, we had the situation here where our sell stop order was triggered, and it was at this point we had our first sell position for the week. And in fact, price action moved about how many pips is that? I think about 60 pips thereabout before it moved back. Okay, about 78 pips thereabout before it moved back into our entry point. And as you all know here, what we simply do here whenever price action moves significantly well in our favor, we want to ensure that we secure that position by moving our stop loss to probably break even or lock in some profit. So with that case scenario we had on Monday, the worst case scenario we would have had was a break even. Then following the breakdown here on Tuesday morning, we saw price action come back to do a retest of structure, which further lines up with that technical expectation that whenever price action breaks down a key structure like this, there is a likelihood that price action will come back and do a retest of that structure. So we also took advantage of this opportunity here, and price action moved about I think over 100 pips thereabout before this wave of bullish momentum started again on Tuesday. And we also anticipated this as well, as I laid emphasis on the fact that that zone between the $80 mark and the $79.50 level has been a major buy niche for participants in this market. And obviously we can see that in the last 2 weeks in this market, we have seen how sellers had made multiple attempts to break down that demand zone, and at every point in time we saw how buyers had been negating all selling attempts to break down that structure. And with the situation and with the observation of this kind of situation here, it is quite clear that this area is a very, very strong buying niche in this market. So we also anticipated that on that same Tuesday, where I told us all that we shall be buying at the breakout of that support line here if price action climbs above that structure. So with a buy stop order above that level at the $80.45 level, we had our first buy position for the week, and we were lucky enough to ride that move all the way to the upside into the $83.37 level. And it was on Tuesday here that we had our TP target, it was on Wednesday that we had our TP target hit around the $83 mark. And since price action got into that $83 mark area, what did we see here? We saw our price went into a choppy situation, which is always something we expect when price action finds a new high. And it's more of a psychological thing here. Whenever we have a new high, what happens around that area is the emotion of fear is very, very dominant, and majority who had bought at a very cheap price. Let's say people who bought at the $79.50 level or the $80 area, or in fact those who bought around this area, will at one point in time start thinking, oh, I think it's high time I start taking out some profit from my position. And this will always reflect on the chart in the form of a choppy situation like a retracement or a consolidation phase around that area. And look at what has been happening here in the last 48 hours. We have been seeing some retracement phase, some choppy situation, price action finding lower lows and lower highs. And as at this point yesterday, I told us all that if we do have a breakdown of that $82.80 level, we are going to be joining a bearish move to the downside. Remember yesterday that we had this this flat channel. Hold on a second, let me zoom in so that we can see things clearly here. So remember, we had this flat channel identified just between the $83.87 level, which was a resistant line, and then we had the $82.80 level, which was serving as a support line during our live session yesterday. And we all had a buy stop order above the $83.37 and a sell stop order below the $82.80 level. And I think I shared this on my public platform, so for the sake of clarity, let's quickly look at the TradingView platform to see how this was how the commentary went. Okay, hold on a second, please. Let's go into the 13th of April. So this was how we have been trading the US oil so far this week. Hold on a second. This is not what I'm talking. This is not. Okay, this is it here. All right. So this was how we have been monitoring price action on the US oil. So this was our first sell position for the week. So we are going into yesterday. Okay, so this was the bullish momentum we took advantage of, and then we wrote, okay, price hit our TP target here. And this was prior to our morning live session yesterday, where we begin to see a choppy situation begin to evolve between that $83.37 and the $82.80 area. Now look at the situation, it continued here. So I said, now that we have a breakdown of the support line at the $82.80 level, let's see if this turns out to be the signal we are looking for to sell. So at this point in time, we saw the breakdown of the $82.80 level, and I shared here that we should be having a buy sell stop order below the structure so that we can be part of this move. So since we already have a breakdown, price has come back to do a retest of structure. Selling pressure in our lower time frame will definitely give us that confidence to join that bearish move to the downside. And as you can see here, I told us all to secure all sell positions as price action continue to ride all the way to the downside. So here I said 66 pips profit running, secure the sell position, move your stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit. So this was this morning's publication here. I identified a new setup here between the $82.50 level and the $82.15 level. Now let's go back into the live chat, and I want to share with you, if you recall vividly what we talked about here yesterday, you would remember I made mention of these trend lines that we said we are going to be using to guide our trading activity. So remember, we had a couple of days ago, we had this consolidation phase here where price action was within an ascending channel before the breakout of that structure happened here, which triggered our second buy position for the week. And I told us yesterday that if the breakdown of that $82.80 level happens, we are definitely going to be using this trend line, this range here, as a yardstick to guide our bearish momentum. So one thing I stated here yesterday is that if we start seeing, we are going to be looking at how price action will be reacting to that trend line to determine if we are going to be adding more sell position to our existing trade, or we might be getting ready to join the second wave of that bullish momentum. And as you can see here, as soon as price got into that structure, what did you notice? We noticed a consolidation phase around that area. So psychologically, the market already feels that it's within a very critical point in the market. So we saw price action trapped within the $82.50 level. which happened to be the resistant line of that channel. Then we had a support line here at the $82.15 level. Now look at what happened. We saw price juxtapose between that range for a while before we finally saw the breakdown of that support line here during the early hours of today to give us a signal of a possible trend continuation to the downside. And if you had actually taken advantage of a sell position at that point, it would have been a very, very beautiful opportunity to be part of another wave of bearish momentum. And well done to you if you are taking advantage of that move as well. But for those who had missed out on that opportunity, had the breakdown of the $82.50 level, which also shares a beautiful confluence with our trend line here. We all know from a technical standpoint that whenever price action breaks down a key structure like this, we expect that one point in time there is a high tendency that price will come back to do a retest of structure in anticipation of inciting another wave of bearish momentum to the downside. So if you had missed out on that opportunity, well, let's see if the market will be giving us another chance to add more position or join this existing move. So what we are going to be doing here is to remain patient and wait for either a retest of the $82.15 level or the trend line here. In fact, it could even go to as far as the $82.50 level. But what we are going to be looking at around this area is more of a reversal pattern. So this will come in form of probably a sell pressure where buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above those trend lines. Then probably a reversal pattern as well. Breakdown retest on our lower time frame will give us that confirmation that we are good to sell the US oil today. Then in addition to the possibility, the potential of selling momentum in this market is this beautiful trend line that we identified yesterday. Remember, we had this trend line figured out after connecting the series of lower high. So if we extend the trend line a little further, hold on a second, let me look at my line chart to see if the trend line up is appropriately placed here. Okay, so we have this right here. So if we look at this trend line extending out a little bit, there is still a high chance that price could still come back into that trend line. So as long as price remain below the trend line, we shall feel comfortable in that sell position for today. So this is what we shall be looking at on the US oil to sell the US oil for today. So let's wait and see how price action will continue to react to the structure. And if you have any question, feel free to let me know in the comment section whatever aspect you think I should shed more light on. And after talking about our sell expectations in this market, I would also want us to look at the potentials of buyers coming in. You all know how we do it here. Whenever we have a bias, we also want to take into consideration the opposite bias too as well, so that whenever the opposite happens, we are not going to be caught in a dilemma of not knowing what to do. So we want to also picture the potentials of buyers in this market. Obviously, it has been very bullish in the last couple of weeks now on the US oil. So we still think the buyers still have a chance in this market. Now let us look at and consider the impulsive move that started this week. So remember, we had this impulse leg started at the $79.50 area where price action moved into that $83.37 level. And you would agree with me that the old move we have been witnessing here in the last 24 hours is more of a retracement of that impulse leg. Now the question is, how far will this retracement go before the beginning of another wave of bullish momentum will happen? So we have been witnessing some retracement phase so far in the last 24 hours. Price has been dropping to the downside. Will this continue into that potential TP target zone for sellers that we identified yesterday before another wave of bullish momentum will happen? Or it might not even get to that point before we begin to see another opportunity to buy. So at this point in time, the only way we can know if the retracement phase has ended is to start citing buying pressure. It could be a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure, a head and shoulder pattern, or even a falling wedge, whichever case it may be, around this area before we can be thinking of buying or joining the trend continuation to the upside. So if I'm allowed to give you a visual representation of what I think could actually happen before we can be thinking of considering buying the US oil today. So I would rather see something like buying pressure resuming, where sellers are finding it difficult to continue to the downside. So it might come in the form of price finding higher lows, and when we begin to see higher low, it's a very beautiful sign that buyers are gradually gaining some momentum to break out of structure. So if we start seeing something like a higher low, probably price action transitions into a double bottom structure, immediately we want to identify the neckline upon which a buying opportunity will be set. So breakout retest of that structure will definitely give us an opportunity to buy. And if a further breakout of that trend line happens, which also shares a beautiful confluence with that $82.80 level, that will be a very beautiful sign that buyers have come to stay, as the trend line will no longer have the capacity to continue to hold that selling pressure. So these are things I would like to see here to start thinking of buying the US oil for today. But it's okay if price action continues to the downside, right back into that TP target zone that we identified there, then we look out for our buying pressure around this area to join that trend continuation to the upside. But if it happens early enough, that is before even getting to that point, obviously we are going to be on standby to catch that move. So if you are with me on my TradingView platform and on my Telegram platform, definitely you will be getting an update on how to anticipate and get ready for that move. So that is that on the US oil for today. If you have any questions, let me know right in the comment section, and rest assured that I am willing and ready to be of help in that regard. So that is that on the US oil. So I will be checking the comment section to see if there are any questions while I move on to the next pair for today. So the next pair we are going to be looking at today is the GBPUSD. And on the GBPUSD, we have been on a bullish momentum here for the last 48 hours in this market. If you remember, let's run through how the week started for us on the GBPUSD. So at the beginning of the week, we saw the situation here where price action was actually ranging between the 1.24350 level, which happened to be the resistance line at the beginning of the week, and then we had the support line for the week at the 1.2400 area. And you all know what we look out for whenever we have this kind of simple setup. We want to see price action either break out of that resistance line for buying opportunity, or breakdown of the support line for selling opportunity. And as you can see what happened here with our sell stop order below the 1.240 level, we had our first sell position for the week. But as you can see, that sell momentum didn't last long before buying potential start gradually coming in this market. So we were not able to join that bullish momentum because we were thinking that this might likely turn out to be a retracement of that impulse leg that broke down the 1.2400 level. So we were looking forward to another opportunity to sell, which we actually did around this area after we saw the retest of the trend line that was broken on Monday. We sold it. It did not last long before we were taken out of that position at break even. Then on Wednesday morning also, we also had another sell position with the hope that price action will continue to the downside, and that did not happen, as well as we were also taken out with a small profit on that position. As you all know, whenever price action moves in our favor, we always ensure that we move our stop loss to secure the current sell position. Now look at what happened here in this market. We saw price action buy pressure resume again, and if you recall what I said here yesterday, that we are not going to be buying the GBPUSD unless the supply zone here between the 1.245 and the 1.24350 is broken to the upside. And because of the supply zone here around this area, we've always witnessed selling pressure around this area since the beginning of the week. We are very wary of thinking of buying unless it is broken to the upside. So yesterday we had our buy stop order above the 1.245 level. As you can see here, we had our buy position triggered, and it was at this point we had our first buy position for the week, and we continue to add more position to our existing trade. For the sake of clarity here, I would like to share with you how we traded this one yesterday. So let's run through the commentaries for the GBPUSD yesterday. So we are looking at on the 13th of April. All right, so 13th of April. Okay, so this was 13th of April yesterday. So we joined the, okay, this was yesterday morning, and we identified the channel here again between the 1.24950 and the 1.24825. So a breakout or breakdown of that channel definitely will give us an opportunity to trade, and with a buy stop order above that structure, we saw the buy position triggered, our second buy position for the week. We rode the move all the way up with the hopes that another buy pressure will come in to break out the 1.252 level to trigger another position for us, but that did not happen. As you can see, we saw selling pressure resume below that structure, continue to the downside, and I told us all that we should secure our buy position this morning with the hopes that we still hope the price will continue to the, okay, we had the breakout of the 1.25 here over the night, and at this point it is very likely that selling pressure will come in at any point in time. And the reason why I have said this is simply because of the length of the bullish momentum that springs out of that trend line. So let's go back into the line chart and look at what I am talking about here. So if you look at, since price action broke out of this trend line to the upside, you will notice that the bullish momentum is gradually reducing, and we are beginning to see how sellers are gradually taking over this market. So look at what happened after price action broke out of the 1.252. We saw selling pressure resume around that area. Buyers were finding it very difficult to continue that trend to the upside, and during the early hours of today, we saw another selling pressure around this area. So at this point in time, there is a high chance that price could go through a sell-off in this market in anticipation of the macroeconomic event we are waiting for today. So what I will be suggesting here is to secure our sell position. Even if you have secured your sell position, you would have been taken out from all buy position at this point, because I made mention here that we should secure all buy position, and the closest area we can do that is that entry point at the 1.252. So at this point, you would have been taken out of the buy positions right now. So we want to be patient here to see how price action will be reacting to this trend line to now decide if we are going to be selling or probably getting ready to add another buy position in this market. So for me personally, for any sell momentum in this market, I will be looking at anywhere below the 1.252. Probably we might be in for a sell-off, profit-taking activities ahead of the weekend. So right now, we already have a breakdown of the 1.252 already. So we're going to be patient here to wait for further confirmations, which is likely going to be coming in the form of a retest of the structure. And if we start seeing retest on our lower time frame, remember we will have to scale down to our lower time frame to be able to identify this kind of setup. So we are looking at a retest of structure. We have buyers finding it difficult to climb above the 1.252, and as long as the sell pressure continues, especially below the trend line, then we are going to be getting ready to sell. Then we shall be adding more position at the breakdown of this key structure too, as well at the 1.24950. I will continue to ride that move all the way to the downside. So this is how we are going to be selling the GBPUSD for today. So anywhere below the 1.252 level seems most appropriate to be looking out for selling opportunities. And mind you, I want to see a retest of structure happen. So on this time frame, on this chart, we are going to be looking at the lower time frame, like the 10, 5, 15 minutes time frame, to look out for this retest of structure, which will be giving us an opportunity and confidence to sell. So let's remain patient here. This might likely take about 30 to 1 hour before we finally see a confirmation that sellers are gradually gaining momentum in this market. Now, with that being fixed here, look, with the sell expectation being fixed here, let's look at what to look out for here to start considering to buy the GBPUSD. Well, for me at this particular point in time, and considering the selling pressure we have been witnessing here since the later part of the New York session yesterday, that is selling pressure between the 1.2547 and the 1.25400 area, I am of the opinion that let's wait for a breakout of the 1.25470 level to happen before we want to be thinking of buying the GBPUSD today. So I would rather see something like this: breakout of the 1.2547, retest of structure. It could even come to as far as the trend line, but as long as we have seen a breakout of that 1.25470 level, I will be getting ready to buy. So I'll wait for a retest. It could come to the trend line. It could be around this area. As long as I start seeing buy pressure resume on our lower time frame, then we shall be joining that move to the upside. I will be with you in the comment section as usual. So if you don't get too confused, I will be with you in the comment section to give you an update on how we are going to be taking advantage of that bullish momentum as soon as a breakout of that structure happens. So that is that on the GBPUSD for today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section while I move on to the next pair for today. And the next pair we are going to be looking at is the XAUUSD. Now, finally, we saw a new high being established during the New York session yesterday, and luckily enough for us, we were part of that move as we were able to scoop about, how many pips was that? We were able to scoop about 150 pips thereabout before the bearish momentum began, and I hope you moved your stop loss accordingly to lock in some profit during that session while we had that move to the upside. So let's quickly run through how the week has started for us on the XAUUSD. Now, if we zoom out on the 1 hour time frame, which is on your screen right now, you would have noticed that we have been buying the XAUUSD since the beginning of the week. Though we had a sell position initially, which moved about 100 pips before we begin to sight buy pressure resume around the 1,989. And this led to the breakout of that trend line that was supposed to be our yardstick for bearish momentum at the beginning of the week. So with the breakout of that trend line, it was at this point we had a signal that we might be in for a bullish momentum for the week, as a trend line could no longer hold that bearish momentum anymore. And with the breakout retest of that trend line here on Tuesday, we had a confirmation that we are going bullish. So we had our buy stop order above the $2,000 mark, and we had that buy position triggered, and we continue to ride the move all the way to the upside, adding more positions at the breakout of key structures like the $2,008 mark, the $2,011 area, and as well on yesterday morning we also added another position at the breakout of the $2,020 level. And during the live session yesterday, we also acknowledged the potential of price action breaking out of the previous high at the $2,032 mark, and I told us all yesterday that we should have a buy stop order above this level, as there might not be any room to wait for a retest of structure for confirmation before joining that momentum. Because if a breakout of a significant high happens after price action has gone through a choppy situation, the breakout of that area is always going to be massive, and I laid emphasis on this during our live session yesterday. And if you had done that, placing your buy stop order above that area, you would have scooped at least a minimum of 100 pips on that single move to the upside. So well done to everyone who are taking advantage of that bullish momentum at the beginning of the week. So right now we are going to be taking a fresh new look at the market to see what our expectations is going to be like for today on the XAUUSD. Now the first thing we are going to be doing here is to first of all acknowledge the fact that price action has been bullish since the beginning of the week, and in order to emphasize this, we already have a trend line which has been supporting this bullish momentum since the beginning of the week. As you can see, after we connected the series of higher lows, we have a beautiful bullish trend line in that regard. Now look at what has been happening in the last 1 hour. Now we can see that price action is gradually approaching that trend line, which also shares a beautiful confluence with the previous high, which is the $2,032 mark. If you remember, this is a very key significant structure that we need to be very, very patient to see how price action will be reacting to this level, as this will determine what our next line of action will be. So are we going to be buying the XAUUSD today, or are we going to be selling the XAUUSD today? That's a $1 million question that we need to answer at this point. Now the answer is nowhere but within the current structure that we have here, which is a $2,032 mark, which is an area we are going to be focusing on today to see how price action will be reacting to this level to decide if we are buying or selling. So at this point in time, patience is highly required around this area. So there are a couple of scenarios that we might be looking forward to. So I will be giving you a visual representation of what to expect around this area and what are we going to be seeing that will give us the confidence to either buy or sell the XAUUSD today. Now, before I go into that illustration, it is very important I state here that ever since price action tested the new high that we have here at the $2,048.50 level, we have been seeing some selling pressure come in from that area. Now price action has evolved into something that looks like a flat channel, which further emphasizes the indecision in this market. So we have a range already. Price has been trading between the $2,048 mark and the $2,032 area since the New York session yesterday. So we have about 18 hours of a ranging around that area at this point. And you all know what we look out for whenever we have this kind of flat channel. We either remain patient, of course, wait for price action to either break out of the resistance line for buying opportunity or break down of the support line for selling opportunity in this market. And one thing I always emphasize here during our live session is that whenever price action tests a new high, it is always likely that price action will go through a choppy scenario, as whenever price finds a new high, it takes quite a time for price action to acclimatize with that level. And this is always reflected on the chart as a choppy situation, as the emotion of fear is always dominant around that area. So those who had bought at a lower price action gets to a new high, there is always this fear that will price action continue or not. And because of that fear, majority will want to start doing some quick profit taking activities, which will reflect on the chart as a retracement phase, choppy situations, which has been happening in the last 4 weeks on the XAUUSD as well. Remember when we were at the $2,000 mark, we saw the choppy situation happen. And remember when we came to the $2,032 mark as well, we saw the choppy situation, we saw the retracement phases. Now we have a breakout of the 2032. Now we are at another new high at the $2,048 mark, and we're beginning to see choppy situation happen as well. So at this point in time, we need to be very, very careful so that we can be able to take advantage of that move. So now, right, going back into the current structure that we have, which is the $2,032 mark, which also shares a beautiful confluence with our trend line. So what we are going to be looking forward to around this area is one. So if we are going to be seeing bullish momentum, if we are going to be buying here, then I want to see price action start retesting this level, that is sellers find it difficult to break down the $2,032 mark, so we start seeing buy pressure. Mind you, this will be observed vividly on a much more lower time frame, like your 5 minutes, your 10 minutes, or your 15 minutes time frame. We look out for buy pressure around this area, especially if we start noticing higher lows in this market or a reversal pattern. It could be a double bottom structure, a head and shoulder pattern, whatever case it may be. Then we start getting ready to join. So if it is a reversal pattern around this area, we immediately identify our neckline area, where a breakout retest of the neckline will give us a confirmation to join a bullish momentum to the upside. And if a further breakout of the $2,048 level happens, definitely we want to be adding more position to our existing trade. So that is how we are going to be buying the XAUUSD today. So as long as price remain above the $2,032 mark, which also shares a confluence with our trend line, that means that the trend line is still very strong and capable of holding the bullish momentum. So that is how we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity today. However, if price action at any point in time breaks down both the trend line and the $2,032 level, then at this point we're beginning to consider a bearish signal. So but remember that we are not going to be getting too excited to join a move right away, so we are not having a sell stop order below that structure, but we want to wait and see how price action will react after the breakdown. So this will give us a confirmation and confidence to be part of a bearish move. So we are going to be looking forward to something like a retest of structure to happen, where buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above that bullish trend line. So instead we'll start seeing certain pressure right below the structure. Then at this point we are going to be seeing this as a bearish opportunity. So at this point in time, when we start seeing certain pressure, we can now place our sell stop order below the $2,032 level. Then at this point we could have our sell position triggered, and we rather move all the way to the downside. So I will be sharing with you if there are more opportunities to add more position to our existing trade in the comment section on my public platform. So that is that on the XAUUSD today. It's a very simple setup. So our center of focus today is just going to be around the $2,032 mark and the bullish trend line here, where whatever happens around the structure will determine how we are going to be trading the XAUUSD for today. So if you have any questions, let me know right in the comment section. I can see Roslyn Agbo says that can't see it clearly. Okay, my screen, right? You mean my screen? So I will just have to zoom out. So I will zoom out right now. So if you can see it, let me know in the comment section. So if you can see it clearly now, let me know in the comment section. And if it's not, I will readjust to make things clearer. Okay. All right, so we shall be moving on into the last pair for today, which is the USDJPY. And on the USDJPY, we have had a sell position in the last 24 hours, I guess. And though, let's run through how the week started for us on the USDJPY. So at the beginning of the week, we were part of a bullish momentum. Remember, we had a key level at the 132.400, which triggered our first buy position for the week, and we were able to run the move all the way to the upside, which was about 150 pips move before selling pressure resume around the 133.90 level. So this is the resistance line for the week right now, as this is an area where we have been witnessing selling pressure since the beginning of the week. And now we saw this consolidation phase happen after price action tested that high at the 133.900, giving us a clue into that indecision in this market. And if you recall what I said here yesterday, I said that at this point in time, because of the new demand zone we have here, we are not going to be looking out for any selling opportunity unless the structure is broken to the downside. So because of the situation here and because of the buy pressure we were noticing here yesterday, I told us all that the only way we are going to be buying the USDJPY is to wait for this trend line to be broken to the upside, and if it breaks out, it will have broken out of the 133.500, after which we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity. And as you can see what happened here, that did not happen at all. Now, what happened instead was the breakdown of that demand zone, which I said yesterday that the only way I will be selling the USDJPY is to see price action break down that demand zone. And in fact, it broke down the demand zone, came back to retest the structure. So if you had missed out on the first breakdown of structure, then price action has come back to do retest of structure, giving us another opportunity to be part of that move to the downside. And price action moved about 60-70 pips in our favor before this choppy situation began during the New York session yesterday. So if you are still in this trade, probably you will still be with about 30 pips in profit at this particular point in time. So what I will be advising you to do right now is to secure the sell position. If you still have a sell position running, kindly move your stop loss to secure the sell position, as we are beginning to see some signs that buyers are gradually gaining momentum in this market. Now, what did I see that made me think that buyers are gradually gaining momentum? Well, if we look at the structure here, you would notice that as soon as price got into the 132.10 level here, 132.00 level here, we saw buy pressure resume. And look at what happened in the last couple of hours. We can see how sellers are still finding it difficult to break that previous low, to find a new low to give us a level of comfort to be part of another wave of bearish momentum. Now that price is finding it difficult to break down that low, at this point, it's a red flag that we might be going bullish at any point in time. So it is very, very important that you move your stop loss accordingly, lock in the current profit, and let's see how price action is going to play out going forward. Now, in order to make things a little bit easy for us to be able to feel comfortable in whatever position that we are in, it is appropriate that we map out some structures that will make things easy for us. So the first thing I would like to do here is to first of all acknowledge that we have a higher low in this market. So we have a bullish, temporary bullish trend line, which I'll be calling it a temporary bullish trend line in the meantime, as we still need some impulsive move out of that area to give us that confidence to call it a valid bullish trend line. So we have a temporary bullish trend line here, and then the next thing I'll also do is to acknowledge a support line, which with the look of things here has a memory for buying power in the past. Hold on a second. Okay, this was our resistance. Okay, sorry. Okay, so we have something like this. So if we bring out our line, our candle chart, I think we could do some readjustment here to suit in the current structure. So we have it at the 132.150. So let's label that 132.150 level. So that is our new key level for the week. So we have a trend line and a 132.150 level, which we shall be using to guide our trading activity for this week. So to add more sell position to this market, I would want to see price action break down that 132.150 to the downside for another sell position in this market. So that will be what I will be looking forward to sell this market. So that means if price action breaks down the 132.150, it would have taken out the buy positions that we have been witnessing here since yesterday to give us a confirmation that sellers are still very strong in this market. But if price action does not drop to the downside and instead continue to find higher highs, that is, price was unable to find a lower low in this market, then this whole structure here will turn out to be a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure. So if we take this impulsive move into consideration, we saw the first touch, price came into the 132.800. We can see price is unable to break down the previous low. Then at this point, we should be having a double bottom structure where the 132.800 level, which was our previous demand platform, will turn out to be the neckline of that reversal pattern. And now if you look at the structure here, you will see how the 132.800 level shares a beautiful confluence with that bearish trend line. So a breakout retest of the structure definitely will be a signal that we are going to be going bullish in this market. So this is what we are going to be looking out for to buy the USDJPY for today. So it's quite a simple setup. So we are looking out for buying opportunities above the 132.800 and selling opportunities below the 132.150 area. So let's see how price action will play out in the next couple of hours. And remember that we have macroeconomic event coming up today, which we should definitely move our stop loss to secure our current position, and there is a likelihood that we are going to be having some volatility in the market during this period, and especially coming in on a day like the last trading day of the week, going into the weekend, some profit taking activities will be coming in. I'm very sure we are going to be seeing a very massive move in this market. So let's be on standby for that, and be with me on my TradingView platform and Telegram channel, as I will be dishing out updates from time to time to guide us through whatever position we are in. So on this note, I want to wish you best of luck today. See you right in the comment section on my TradingView platform and on my Telegram as we continue to monitor price action. Do have a wonderful day, everybody. Wonderful weekend to you too as well. Bye bye.